Speaking of some famous people, let's get to one of our favorite guests on the show. He's an NFL Network front office analyst now, but he has 25 years of NFL experience in the front office, and he served as general manager and assistant GM on multiple winning teams. He's a 5-time NFL Executive of the Year. Let's welcome to the network, Scott Pioli.
Hey! Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm not going to be running a 40. I can guarantee you that.
Me neither. Okay, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported the 49ers are reportedly down to 2 prospects now from where they were to start the process. You worked with Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta. What qualities do you believe Kyle values most in a quarterback from someone who worked with him hand in hand?
You know, Peter, Kyle looks for a guy who's going to represent a lot of the same values that he believes in. Kyle Shanahan is all about substance, not sizzle. So he's going to be looking for a quarterback that is all about preparation, that is all about team. Again, he wants a guy who's smart and makes good decisions. Those things don't always sound like they should be the same thing, but they're not. In terms of tools, what he really values, the most important thing in terms of physical tools is accuracy. But what he really wants is a player that's going to be a partner and that is willing to prepare and share thoughts. But once it comes game time, Kyle absolutely wants a quarterback that is going to do what he is told to do, because Kyle knows that he's going to put that quarterback in the best position. So again, he wants a guy that's more selfless than anything, Peter.
All right, let's talk about Kyle's former team. This season, Atlanta has a first-year head coach and a first-year GM. How much do you envision owner Arthur Blank's opinion playing a role in their selection at number 4?
Nate, I was fortunate to spend 6 drafts within that draft room with Thomas Dimitroff, and for a couple, Mike Smith was the head coach one time, and then Dan Quinn. And here's what I'll say about Arthur Blank. Arthur did a tremendous job of not questioning the decision makers. What he did is he went through the process alongside the GM, alongside the head coach. And what he does is he doesn't push opinions. He lets decision makers make their decisions. And that's all you want as a leader, whether you're the head coach making the final decision or the general manager. He makes himself a healthy part of the process, really, by asking smart and thoughtful questions that are probing, which allows the decision makers to get to the place that they need to be. So he doesn't influence the decision makers, he supports them. And again, going through that process is, for a couple of years was really interesting to watch how well Arthur handled that with his leaders.
Scott, help us get some clarity on the Chicago Bears. They have the 20th pick. They acquired Andy Dalton. They have Nick Foles. We're not sure what they have. The quarterback situation is still up in the air. Do you think the GM Ryan Pace and head coach Matt Nagy will attempt to make a bold play, further mortgage their future, and move up to get one of these rookie quarterbacks?
Kyle, that's a great question, but I think at this point they have made a very bold move a couple of years ago when they moved up for Mitchell Trubisky. I don't think at this point in time that that's going to be a big part of their personality, because we've seen what they need to do, or what a team needs to do in order to get up into the fray and get a quarterback. The other thing that's going to be a big factor in this year's draft is because they're a couple of years in, ownership is going to have to sign off on every big trade. So when you look at the Bears situation, if they're going to have some sort of significant trade and give away a lot of currency for the future, the ownership is going to have a say in that. At this point in time, I don't think that ownership would support their front office and their head coach mortgaging the future in order to do that, because they're in a place right now where they've got to do some winning now and not future, Kyle.
Scott, you've been a part of so many drafts. There isn't really one that's like this, though. COVID-19, a pandemic. It's a little different, let's be honest. Medical reports are just trickling in right now. Normally, you would have those to analyze and look at and make decisions based off of much, much earlier. So how critical are these reports, getting them now, and how much can they change, really, 48 hours out to what happens on draft night?
Okay, it is critical. You use the perfect word right there. Normally, there's a much longer process, right? What we have is we have scouts gathering information, we have trainers, we have doctors. We get that information during the season, at the end of the season, about the physical well-being of the players. Then we go to the combine. Then we have combine rechecks. After that, what teams are allowed to do are the 30 visits, where each team is allowed to bring in 30 players, not only for interviews, but for physical testing. This year, it has been changed up a whole lot. But here's what I'll say, Kay, is there's so many doctors and trainers that have really good relationships. Players have to sign off on their medical information. So maybe there hasn't been as much, in-person contact in terms of getting to see and touch and feel the players. But this year is definitely different. It's interesting, I was going back and trying to think of players who were really affected and really impacted by their drop in the, during the medical situation. I went back, I pulled out the old 2010 NFL draft final book and looked up a guy, Rob Gronkowski, because it was different, Kay, but similar, right? He missed the entire 2009 season because of injury. He was also an underclassman, so there wasn't a lot of relevant tape for him. And then he went to the combine, couldn't work out at the combine because he had just had a discectomy in his back in February. I think it was like February 26th. So he had still, right before the draft, we flew him into Kansas City, as a number of other teams did a medical on him. He still had 3 bulging discs in his back, and it was a player that you didn't have all the medical information. And I would say at least half the league had doctors where they told their GMs and head coaches, listen, we're not passing this guy on the physical. It's completely on you if you want to risk it. And here we know all these years later, here's a guy who had a terrible back, missed his final college season for it, and he's going to be wearing a gold jacket before long.
It's amazing. Scott, I'm looking at the 2010 draft. That year, you guys got Eric Berry, Dexter McCluster, Javier Arenas, John Asamoah. Pretty good draft. You guys did okay, binder or not. And I know that you will be donating to St. Jude, as will I, and the whole Run Rich Run thing. We just might not necessarily be running our 40-yard dashes in suits, Scott.
I'll send the check. I'm not going to run.